The head teacher at the row over his school's discriminatory uniform policies has backed down following chaotic student protests. Pimlico Academy in Westminster sent a letter to parents last night promising to revise a ban on hairstyles that block the view of others seen by pupils and parents as an attack on Afro styles. Measures surrounding the wearing of hijabs, including the stipulation that headscarves must completely cover the hair, was also removed from the policy. Alka Sehgal Cuthbert is an educator and journalist, joins us now. Alka, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
I mean, this is, I wouldn't say completely unprecedented to see kids get the hump and have a bit of a protest, but this seems to have gone into a whole different stratosphere.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm not against a bit of protest in the right place and right time. I think what we're seeing here is it really shows a deeper problem. It's not just about racism. I think in this particular instance, you can see it's a deeper problem of adult authority, teachers' authority in particular, and solidarity. I think, and these are longer standing problems. And what's being forgotten here is that schools have a duty to educate, right? That is their prime function for which they get public consent and money. Now, that's, if you like, the knowledge part of their job. To do that, there's a second part that they need, which is more ethical. They need to create a community of pupils, where pupils and teachers, where you're acting together, and you're kind of forgetting. You're not obliterating. You're not rejecting. You're not dissing your home identity. You're just parking it for a while you're at school, doing something quite unique to schools. And I think that's really been forgotten. And we need to really support the adults in society more generally, and particularly the staff there. I'm very saddened to read that it seems, if it's true, that some of the staff have sided with the pupils and have threatened to walk out themselves, which I think is pretty appalling, really, and the unions are backing the students. So these unions that have failed to say anything about the teacher that's in hiding in Batley, and here they are.
Yes, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, this to me is, and who knows? This head teacher may be hopeless for all we know, and there might be something to pursue in that regard on another day. But the point still remains, Alka, doesn't it? We seem to have arrived where everybody's rights and everybody's sense of entitled to be those rights have extended now to the playground. And certainly when I was at school, I know things change. Of course, things change, and there is different communication and relationships that teachers have with students. But the idea that the teacher or the head teacher calls the shots and the students therefore adhere to the policy, I mean, what happened to that? Surely since schools were invented, that's the basic tenet, surely, of how a school is run.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's a single answer, to be honest, but I think a large part of what's happened is that kind of authority is now seen in really negative terms. If you say something definitively or with any kind of certainty, particularly if you're dealing with children, you are often seen as being authoritarian rather than authoritative. And schools can't operate unless adults there can be authoritative. Right? That's the basis. You're dealing with the younger generation. They're entering into adulthood. That takes time. They need to learn how to make the moves between behaviour and norms that are permissible at home with their family, what's permissible at school with their friends, and then later on, as adults. And those are they're not rigid distinctions, but for them to be able to develop properly, so be socialised properly, you need a cohort of adults in schools who can act authoritatively without having to second guess themselves all the time, without looking over their shoulder, without worrying that everything they say will be taken the wrong way and they'll have a protest at the school gates.
Because you have to have, I mean, almost the diminishing of authority seems to be central to this story. That This is as much up to the kids as it's up to the teacher. Is almost, certainly when I'm reading this, I'm thinking, well, we demand, they say, to be able to express ourselves as we see fit. And of course, this is a school. That's not always going to be possible, even accommodating whether it's religious sensitivities or issues, even allowing for that. There is a uniform policy. There's a set of rules that go with that. This is not running a school by committee as such. The teacher is the head teacher. That's the point.
Well, absolutely, except that clearly isn't the case, and it hasn't been the case for a while. And I think it's not surprising when if you look sort of upstream at what's been happening in academia and teacher education departments over the past few decades. The teachers who are being trained or educated to go and teach are generally, it's a bit of a sweeping statement, but it's generally quite a marked trend, are being kind of led to believe that, pupils have exactly the same amount of say as a teacher. If any,
there's a hierarchy, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with a hierarchy, and surely if ever you're going to learn that, because these lessons will crop up for the rest of your life, one might assume that the school is a good place to know that this is a kind of a template that will carry on in lots of different ways. It'll carry on in the workplace, and then you also develop your own hierarchies in family life. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. It's just a hierarchical system that kind of works, tried and tested.
Absolutely. You're quite right about it being a practice ground, if you like, and it's very important. And what you also get in this, overlaid on this, is, if you like, the marketization in education, which has certainly happened at universities, and you see it downstream at school level. It's expressed in this idea that the school and teachers are there to serve me. It's kind of like the L'Oreal approach to schools. It's all about you. And actually it kind of is, but it also isn't.
Yeah.
It's partly about you, but it's about being able to extend you in relationship with other people who aren't you and who might have different opinions.
Indeed. Alka, listen, we stop there for no other reason than time. We will speak again, I'm sure. Alka Sehgal Cuthbert, educator and journalist with